Hello everybody, this is BoatsDon'tSink, here with another week of Weekly Weiss for June 10th, 2022. This week we have a few different things to talk about, but none of them are super new news. It's a couple things that I just didn't get to talk about last week, from the last few weeks. The first thing is the Hololive Title Cup. Second, the Attack on Titan card erratas that happened at the end of last month. And the third thing I want to talk about is the Bushiroad Strategy Presentation 2022 Summer that's happening next week. First off, the Hololive Production Title Cup. For those of you that mostly play English and might not be familiar, what is a Title Cup? So Title Cup is a tournament where everyone participating only plays the same series. So in this case, everyone participating in the Hololive Production Title Cup can only play Hololive. Japan has these pretty frequently at all of their big regional level events. They'll have Title Cups for, say, the 8 to 10 most recent sets that have come out. Here you can see some of the prizes from those tournaments. And if you've been paying attention to English for a little while now, you might remember that back near the end of last year, I believe, we had the 7 Deadly Sins Battle of the Sins tournament on the Bushiroad Remote Fight server, which was essentially a 7 Deadly Sins title cup. So I really like this kind of tournament, because I think it does open up a bit of a variation on deck building and strategy, rather than having to constantly prepare for the entire wide meta field and all of the different threats that are available in it. You don't have to worry about those at all in Title Cup. Instead, you can focus just on your one set and the threats in it and the cards you need to worry about, or the strong strategies that you can play. And a lot of times, this means that strategies that would not be viable otherwise, because the rest of the field has answers to them, might not have as many weaknesses, and you might be able to play these fringe strategies to a lot more success in a Title Cup. It also means that some strategies where, if the set itself has an answer, you might not have had to worry about running into that answer as many times before, but when you're playing against that same set every single round, if they're going to have that answer every round to your strategy, maybe even though you have a strong deck, it might not be a good pick for Title Cup. So it opens up a lot of just deck building variation, and you really have to think about a lot of different things than you would have to in a normal tournament. One quick example from Hololive, if you've played the set at all, you'll be familiar with the level 0 Aqua here. It's a very popular card. Most decks play 4 of it at level 0 due to its high power and the ability to replace itself with 2 cards from the top of your deck whenever it goes to waiting room. So if you know you're going to be playing against Hololive every round, and they're going to be playing a lot of copies of this card, you can include a card in your deck that's going to be able to prevent Aqua from using her effect by sending her to a zone that's not the waiting room. In this case, with the Okayu, you can send it to your opponent's clock so that they don't get to add 2 cards to their hand. So things like this really just open up a lot of deck building and a lot of strategy that I think is really good for the game, especially for new players to experiment with their decks. And not just the tournament format itself, but there are prizes for this tournament. If you participate at all, you should be getting one of the 31 climaxes from the set at random in the borderless version that comes as the box topper, but also with the triple rare foiling. This is the only way to get both the foil and borderless versions. Otherwise, the foils come in the booster pack and trial deck, and the borderless come as box toppers, like I said. So these look amazing. All the art is great. I'm definitely looking forward to picking some of these up for my deck. You'll get 1 for participation and 3 for winning. So even if you are maybe new to the game or not super confident in your deck, at least go, play, have fun, and get at least one of these to show off. Second thing I want to talk about, the Attack on Titan Volume 1 and Volume 2 cards that were errated. Big question, what did they errata? There's 14 cards here, 6 from set 1 and 8 from set 2, and they basically all received the same errata. On these cards, the effects that referenced a phrase or name within a card name were all changed to no longer check for the Japanese names. You can see that here, where the old Aaron checks for the katakana of each character's name, and the errata no longer checks for that. Why did they make this change? Well, English originals don't have Japanese card names printed on the card, since there is no Japanese equivalent. And with the new Attack on Titan set, Final Season, being an English original, and from what we've seen of it so far, those cards aren't going to have Japanese card names either. So they've made these erratas so that when looking for the new Final Season cards that don't have Japanese card names, they're only checking for the English part of the card name. However, I don't really agree with this solution. I don't think this was the best way to implement this. Personally, I would have just updated the comprehensive rules so that if you're checking for Japanese card name on a card that doesn't have a Japanese card name, you just ignore that part and only check the English part of the card name. This has some weird consequences with other sets. You know, if we ever get more English originals like this, where they are support for existing titles, you're going to have to errata all the cards in those sets too. And that might not have ended up being much of an issue for Attack on Titan, but there are some series where it could have really strange consequences. For example, Sword Art Online, where Asuna cards have both Asuna as katakana for when she's in the game worlds, and Asuna in kanji for when she's in real life. And many of the cards that search for Asuna in name only search for one or the other. As you can see on the card on the left, it's only searching for Asuna with the katakana name. If you removed these checks, now you can search for any Asuna, which was not the intention of the card, and opens up a bit of a can of worms that I think players and Bushiroad alike would rather not go down. So I'm hoping that within the near future, these erratas probably get reversed and comprehensive rules changes made instead, just so we don't have to deal with this in the future. But otherwise, that's why they made the changes. Those are the changes they made. It's just the Japanese part of the card name, in effect, removed from the 14 cards that referenced it, so that they interact, for now, better with the Final Season cards. And lastly, the Bushiroad Strategy Presentation 2022 Summer on June 15th, that is next week. This is a presentation for the Japanese format of the game, which, if you know me, I'm primarily focused on the English format, so a lot of the things that are going to be in this presentation, such as the restriction list updates, I'm not as concerned with, but they always tend to announce, 6 to 8 new sets in these presentations. And a lot of the time, being able to see what sets are coming out on the horizon helps you prepare for English more, especially if they're support sets, to buy stuff from the originals, etc. It just gives you an idea of maybe what you might want to be saving up money for in English, etc. The last presentation we had was in March, and they announced a lot of sets, a lot of which are almost guaranteed to be coming to English at some point, such as Kaguya-sama Set 2, Data Live Set 2, and Quintessential Quintuplets Set 3. Now that we have, at least one set for all of those already in English, we'll probably be getting the later ones. So this, tells people, hey, if you're a Data Live fan or whatever, maybe you save up some money knowing that within the next year we're probably getting Data Live Volume 2 coming out. At the same time, it also announced some sets that almost guaranteed aren't coming to English. But hey, at the same time, you see those things announced and well, maybe I'll save up to buy this one in Japanese instead, etc. I think it just gives a good look into the future, and I'll definitely be talking about it more next week once the presentation actually happens, and giving my thoughts on the announcements and what I think will be coming to English in the future. That's it for this week, so thank you guys for watching. If you're going to be in Houston or any of the Southeast Asia regionals, or Spain, I believe, is also this weekend. Good luck at all your regionals. I'll be in Houston, so if you're there, I will see you there. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at BoatsDon'tSink, And you can check out our store on Facebook at Iron City Games and TCG Player at ironcitygames.tcgplayerpro.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.